What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Life After Sunday. How's everybody doing today?
Fantastic.
Phenomenal.
Out freaking standing.
We have a special guest on the show today, Mr. Carmon McCurrie. Glad to have you on, sir.
Thank you.
And
for being here.
just to start, man, we like to ask all of our guests some questions just to kind of break the ice.
Okay,
So,
let's break it.
first question is, what is your favorite? I'm gonna give you candy because I know you're a candy man. So I'm gonna give you favorite snack cake / candy.
I like Smarties.
Smarties.
That's old school. I like
I like Smarties.
Yeah.
Smarties. Yeah.
Okay.
You start with one, and then you end up eating the whole bag. You're like, wait, where'd it go to?
Before this new Carmon that cut out sugar, if you were at church, you could go to him and he would have candy in his pocket.
Yes.
Jolly
I'm giving
Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers.
Starburst, Skittles. The man had it all.
I love candy too.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to give out candy. I like eating candy. I'm full of believer.
The candy man. So, Carmon, I'm going to give you a proper introduction before we get going
Okay.
here. Actually, we got one more question.
All right.
What would you tell 20-year-old Carmon if you could tell him anything? If you could go back in time and tell him one thing.
I love
You
it.
have to do things in moderation, slow down a little bit, and make the most. Make the most of the family.
Yeah.
Family means a lot.
Absolutely.
So
It means that.
yeah,
Moderation.
moderation.
Everything in moderation and
family with
family first.
Family first always.
I like it. That's good stuff. Man, Carmon McCurrie is a Army veteran. He dedicated 16 years of his life to serving our country. He spent the first 8.5 years of his career as a 12C combat engineer. He followed that up with just over 8 years as a 92A automated logistics specialist with multiple deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Now Carmon's journey has taken him in a different direction. He's now married, a proud grandfather, and he's living the life of a cattle farmer. But most importantly, he's a man of faith. Continue to walk with Jesus. We are so honored to have you on the show today to talk about your experiences, your faith, and everything that shaped you into the man we have sitting here beside us.
That's rough. I just don't lie. It's rough.
So let's start with growing up. You're born and raised in Atkins,
Atkins?
Arkansas. Yeah,
I went
take us
school-
from there.
I went to school in Atkins. Graduated in '87. My brother is my sister's 2 years younger than me, and my brother is 4 years younger than me. So he was born.
All Red Devils.
All Red Devils.
I bet I know. Yeah, but 4 years just around our time, and you're starting to get into our time. So I came out in '92. So
Well, there's nothing wrong with '97.
yeah,
I need to get with your brother and have him make us a wood sign for our back here with our logo on it.
Yeah, he can do
Because
it.
he's a master.
He's been. I don't know where he got his
Woodworker,
talent
man.
at, but he's found it somewhere and he's honed it. So
They always have a booth set up at Pickle Fest, and he's selling like
Oh, nice.
American flags that are made out of
I've seen that.
wood
I think
and
I've
stuff.
seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really awesome.
yeah, he's made quite a bit of stuff for me.
Did you play sports growing up or anything? Or
I tried a little bit of football. I did some track. I was just a metalhead growing
just a
up.
metalhead?
Yeah.
All right, Eric, go ahead and ask him what his favorite. Go ahead.
Say.
what's your favorite Metallica song, sir?
I like the Sandman. I like the Sandman. I like that. I was a big Ozzy fan. Black Sabbath.
Let's go.
Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden.
Okay.
Just me and
Carmon, I should have asked that another way. What I should have said, who's your favorite metal band and why is it Metallica?
I just
That's good.
well the guy that plays drums. I can't remember. I was just watching a thing about him the other day.
Lars?
Yes, and
Yep.
a guy that I went to school with, Greg Cunningham,
I know that name.
reminds me of the way that, he looked when he was younger, and so just a big he was just a big dude. That of course Greg was played heavy metal and stuff, and so but yeah, we spent a lot of time. And
Rocking out.
we wasted a lot of money.
Yeah.
On that's back when you had that you could buy 12 albums for a penny or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Club
Get them in
House.
the mail, baby.
All right, we used to mow lawns just to be able to get the money to buy them. And
I like this.
yeah, and of course, when we were younger, we used to go to church at Happy Valley, and
Yep.
me and Greg and of course his mom and them thought we were devil worshippers because a lot of the people at the church with the youth group would say, "Oh, you got some people that are in the congregation that are devil worshippers." Of course, it was me and Greg, but we weren't devil worshippers. But we'd go down. We spent a lot of time decorating this culvert or this bridge, and we put it started out putting it was like AC/DC, all these all this stuff, and then they'd come down there and they had like prayer meetings at this culvert.
What does ACDC mean? That's gotta be bad.
And of course, well, we did escalate a lot of stuff. I mean, it went from we went from rock. They started scratching out the paint and trying to put they put Jesus is King, this, that, and other. Of course, then we would step it up, and so we would step it up and like Satan is the people we identify with Satan and God. God is not just chatting just doing something. Of course it got back, and of course her mom, Greg's mom, found out that it was us. And she was livid.
Oh yeah.
Well, we had to burn all of our albums that we had saved up for. Yeah, it was a rough ordeal.
I've been forced to throw away. Forced to throw away an album or two back in the day.
I spent a lot of money on those things, but I digress. But we've changed since then.
It was many moons ago.
That's a long time ago. That's
So
when I was a kid.
when you were growing up, what led you to join the Army? What brought that on? Was that in high school? Or did that start early? Or
Well, no,
when did that happen?
actually, there was. I knew some people that went to like the National Guard and stuff. I'm like, I'll join the National Guard. I mean, how bad could it be? Which it wasn't, but it's just 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks out of the year. It's like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
There's more life than this. And so I was like, I need to go. I told them, look, I need to go full time. And so they signed my release, and I went and went full time. And so, I graduated from basic and AIT at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I was a combat engineer. I was 12 Charlie. We built bridges and blew things up. And then I was in the 239th out here in Russellville. I was there for a few months or so, and I was like, no, there's more to life than this. I've got to So I went down and joined full time, but my parents didn't even know that I even initially joined to go to the National Guard. They had no idea until I come home and told them. They're like, "What have you done?" So I was like, "Well, there's more to life than just living in." I didn't want to be people make a living at doing things around here, but I just did not want to work at Tyson. I didn't want to do Conagra. I didn't, all these things I didn't want to do. I like being outside, and so I was like, you know what, I can do this for a living. And it was a good choice. Good choice.
How old were you when you joined right out of high school?
18.
18.
Yeah.
So how long were you in the National Guard?
I want to say it was in probably 6 months or so.
Well, that didn't take long.
Yeah,
That escalated quickly.
it went from I graduated. I went to basic and AIT, started in October, and then it was October, and then November, December, January, and I graduated, and so then I came back, and by summertime, I was like, I got to do regular Army stuff.
Were you able to make a smooth transition? Did you have to do any other training?
No,
before
I
you got
just jumped from the frying pan into the fire.
So once you got into the Army, where'd you go from there? What was your first?
My first duty assignment was at Echo Company, 8th Engineer Battalion at First Cav Division at Fort Hood, Texas.
Massive base.
Huge, and just, of course, it was fantastic being there. You know, that's where they tested out anything that new that came into the Army. It got tested at Fort Hood, and so I got to see the first Apache helicopters flying and going to we used to go and of course, this is back in my wild days. So we drank beer, and so we would go to the down Motorpool Lane, and we would sit and watch night fires. People going to the rounds. Tanks, the tank range, and watching.
Wow.
Watching tracers after just.
Oh, that's great.
And the helicopters and seeing the Apaches, and it's like, wow, I'm going to roll a lot of work. I should have got that. So, yeah, and then I went from there to, I put myself on levy and I went to Korea. And then I was at Korea, I was at Camp Pelham, which is right outside of Munsan, which is not too far from Freedom Village and Panmunjom.
How far away are you from the DMZ there?
I was within, there weren't many miles. It was just, you could hear across the thing from where we used to go out and do training exercises and stuff. You could look into the Panmunjom. You could look into and listen and hear the national anthem.
Oh,
wow.
It was wild. And so, and that's where I got into, like I said, we built Ribbon Bridge.
So that was is that the fold-out bridges?
That's what,
Okay.
It comes up. It's on the back of a 5-ton truck, and it looks like it's just it just unfolds. It's just made out of aluminum. It's floatable. Everything floats. So that and bridge or driving the boats.
Wow,
So
nice.
So was your first out of country duties with that?
Was over
combat
in,
engineer?
Yeah, combat engineer, and I went. Like I said, I was at Camp Pelham, and like I said, we weren't too far from Munsan. We would, you had to get a Liberty Pass to leave the area to go into like Seoul. You'd have to get a freedom, or you have to get a Liberty Pass to go. Of course, our first sergeant's like, you're only like 12 seconds from death because everything was.
So close.
Everything was close, and everything's been marked out by by local nationals, and so everything's been. So it's like, to dull the pain, you drink, and so that's what we spend a lot of time doing that.
So this was around what, 89, 90?
It's
88?
yeah, 89,
Okay.
89, 90
Okay.
time frame, I believe, and so I was there for 13 months.
Okay.
And then I went from there to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I was with the 20th Engineer Battalion. And there we built Bailey bridges. Terrible. Heavy bridges. Everything is.
What's a Bailey Bridge?
What is
A
that?
Bailey Bridge is a bridge that everything hooked up to the front of a 5-ton dump truck. And you push across, you push the bridge across the gap, and so you're building, and then it just keeps going out across the gap, and so everything's a 2-man carry. Everything is 2-man carry. And so,
Heavy.
Yeah, heavy, worthless things.
Heavy worthless. You never want to see one of those again, do you?
No, I'm glad I decided to get out of that stuff. But yeah. And then I got out in 92. Originally, I stopped in 92.
Is that just a 4-year stint?
That was before I decided to. I finished there in 87, 92, 93. It was around that time frame, and then I was like, I got out, and I had to. I wanted to go back in, but I had to wait till my MOS froze, so I could get reclassed. If not, then they just stuck you right back in the same, the same job. I'm like, this job's terrible. So after it was all said and done, I got, I had 8 years, and then I got back in, reclassified as a 92 Alpha, and then I started that journey at Fort Lee, Virginia. And so I went back to AIT, Advanced Individual Training, and I got awarded that. But between one and two, or between my tours, I went to air assault school at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Got qualified. Air assault qualified, and
So for the people listening, air assault, you're talking about rappelling out of helicopters.
rappelling and sling loading operations.
Wow.
Where you hook up. You give a piece of equipment 5-ton, a howitzer or whatnot, then you have to go through. You have to know the snap lengths, the link count, and you get it all ready for sling loading operations where you hook it up to the bottom of a tow pendle on a Black Hawk or a Chinook, and so that it can be a dangerous situation.
Oh, heck yeah.
The static electricity, the static electricity, you got to touch it with the grounding rod. If you don't, it will shoot you back.
Wow.
Because that builds up from the air, all the air movement coming down on the ground, right?
And then when the rotors are going, it just builds up. There's just a lot of static. Because when you watch helicopters at nighttime through night vision, the blades light up, and so it was just a lot of static electricity involved in that, and then it will look like it will be a shocker.
Yeah, people don't realize that.
It's
never thought of that. I
It's
didn't
wild ride.
Yeah.
I never would have known that until I watched no boy didn't get the grounding rod hit just right, and he got shot off the bottom. He got shot back a little bit, so it was like it's a wild ride. Glad you not me, but
wow.
yeah, we that, and that's where you learn how to rappel, and you don't want to become have a fatal hookup, and then you become a dirt dart. Off a 90-foot tower, you become a dirt dart. Watching old boy do a fatal hookup, and he landed head first. Of course, it was some sawdust, but it still dislocated both of his legs, and so. You pick yourself up, you go back from sick call, and he's like, I'm not going back through this, so I'm going to tough it out. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want to do it either. But,
why do they call it a fatal hookup?
Because it can kill you.
So if the hookup isn't correct.
Yeah, because if the hookup, you take the snap link, and if you pin on your shirt, and so if the pin goes down and then you rotate it through, then when they put the ropes on it twice, then when you put pressure on it, it doesn't make the snap link come open. But if you have it the opposite way, and then when you put pressure on it, the snap link will come open, and then you're going to go out and do your perfect tail and bound. You're going to bound all right. You're going to bound right to the ground. And
Lord.
Yeah, so, but yeah, that was. It's like 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks at airsoft school, I believe.
Wow. Did you have, before you got moved to the 92A, did you do anything else in 12C as far as like any other deployments or did you see any combat with them at all?
No, not at all. I didn't see anything in that one. It was, the closest.
That was back before everything kicked off.
Yeah, I was in their shield, but they wouldn't allow me to. I didn't complete what they considered a full tour to be able to be, because I called everybody that I could, every unit that I could think of, and every general that I could find, and say, can you pull me from Korea? They're like, no, we need you there. So I'm like, well, okay, it's terrible, but I'll go with it. So, yeah, we were like that. But I didn't see any other than, I was in during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, but I didn't get to go anywhere except for,
Did those kick off while you were in Korea?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I was asking the time earlier.
Desert Storm, Desert Shield kicked in while I was in Korea, and
That's right.
Was that 90?
I was a sophomore or ninth grader.
I say, wasn't it 90?
I remember watching CNN and all the tracers going off and stuff.
I really wanted. There was like 6 of us, so like we will do anything if you just pull
Send us
from-
over there.
We want to
Can't
go.
get us over there.
Keep us away from
I
here.
can see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they wouldn't do it, and so we thought, well, it is what it is. We're just make the best of what we had. So
Yeah. So okay, so now we're into after air assault school. Where did you go from there?
airsoft school, I was at, like I said, I was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and then I still had a couple years that I had to finish up on my enlistment. To once I got out of active duty, I had some. I could go, inactive, or I could go, National Guard for a couple years or whatever. And so that's what I did until my MOS frozen. So I ETS'd and then picked back up, and like in a couple months after that, and went to picked out another job. And retook the ASVAB, and they told me that I could go and be a linguist, but I didn't want to go to California.
Yeah.
Even at that young, and I didn't want to go. Like, I'm not going to California because and so I was like, I'll go to something that's on the East Coast because I've never been, East Coast type of thing. So I went to Fort Lee, Virginia, and I got to spend. I was 4 months there, I think 4 or 5 months maybe. Go through automated logistics, and then I went from there, and I got to pick my duty station again. And since I was already airsoft qualified, Fort Campbell likes to keep their people, and so I got to go back to Fort Campbell. But I went ahead of my orders coming in and went down my unit, and I picked. I was in 8th Battalion, 8 of the 101st, and so I got stationed. So I was stationed there with Charlie Company with them.
So what time frame are we looking at here? Like what year are we at here? Mid 90s.
Yeah, it was 90, 94, 95, I think.
Okay.
Because my daughter was born in 98, and I was already at Fort Campbell. So yeah, I was at Fort Campbell.
So how long were you at Fort Campbell?
I was at the last time I was at Fort Campbell. I was there for almost 4 years. Almost 4 years, I think.
Any deployments while you're there?
My first deployment I went to since Desert Shield was done and over with, then I went to Ali Al-Salim Air Base, and that was the place that was in between Kuwait and Iraq, and so they considered it like a DMZ type of thing. And so I was there. And I got to spend. I think I was there for 90, 120 days, something like that. We were there.
What was your mission while you're there? What was your main daily? What did y'all do daily? And
What I did there was.
and this is in logistics, right? Automated logistics.
Yes, it was automated logistics. I worked at a division aviation. I worked at like a battalion type of supply type, where you order parts, pull parts for helicopters and stuff like that. And then I went, and so I was there for a while, and we were at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and we went to Bullard Air Base, and so it was we did the logistics and stuff, and so it was really just
It's like pulling parts for
pull parts, order parts for helicopters or this, that, and the other. And so I got to spend a lot of time ordering parts and stuff for helicopters and all the mechanics that goes along with that.
Did you have any Patriot batteries there protecting the base, or do you remember seeing any of those?
Well, we had there was some Air Force people there, and they dining facility and the MWR tent was the best places to go. I mean,
So you got to throw the chair for some love, right?
exactly. You got to.
Former Air Force guy over there, Mr. Mike.
Yeah, we got good
It was
stuff.
pretty awesome though. It was good times. I mean, it was the first time I actually got to driving country. We had souped up Tahoes and Suburbans, and we just drove. There was no speed limit. We drove as fast as we wanted to
Say
drive.
they drive crazy.
We drove, and then you had to drive offensive instead of defensive.
Yes.
Drive offensive.
Yeah, it had a lot of offensive driving. So there's a couple times we made a wrong turn, and I took our boys out, and we went looking for camels. And so we found a herd of camels, and then after we was all said and done, got back, and we were telling some of the locals, and they're like, "Yeah, there's landmines around here. You could get." I'm like, "Yeah, we didn't know any of that stuff. We're just doing our own thing."
Did y'all live? Did y'all have hardened facilities to live in?
No,
Or tents?
we lived in tents. We had tents we lived in.
Some hard living, huh?
It was pretty rough. I mean, there were just GP mediums, and some larges, depending on the tents weren't as bad as you make them out to believe. I mean, a lot of people there would. There's idiots everywhere you go.
Oh yeah.
And these people would. They got in there and they caught some sand vipers.
Yes.
And then you would find some idiots that get a sand viper, and then they threw them in this tent.
Oh no!
And it had wooden floors, so they'd go in there and try to chase and try to catch. Just have another. Well, you get bit, and you don't have time to get medevaced, and so a couple people died from doing stupid stuff like that. But I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that. But I mean, we did go out and watch, just watch people doing ignorant stuff all the time.
Yeah, they'll get the critters out there and have them fight each other. They'll set up little.
We did do some. We did find some scorpions.
Yes.
The dark ones and the clear ones, and had them fight.
Wow.
And so we would we'd take bets, and they were military bets on everything. So we bet on who's gonna live and who's gonna die.
Scorpion
I
fights.
got bit by a clear scorpion. I got into a Humvee, and it bit me right here. And I'm being from Arkansas. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die.
I'm dying.
This is the end of the world.
I'd have been
I
out.
love
Yeah.
you, babe.
That'd have
And
been
then,
it. Yeah.
I get over there, and they're like, nah, man, ain't gonna kill you. But it did. It was about a bee sting times about 20.
Yeah.
It hurt.
I've been stung by a black
Dude.
man. And
Now the black, are they both? Is that one deadly, or obviously?
I
you were
don't
stung
think
by
it's, I don't think it's deadly. I have been stung by one.
Dude.
And of course, since we lived in Houston, Arkansas,
nope.
we found one in our bathroom that was black. And I'm like,
Wait a minute. Whoa. In Arkansas?
We got
Yeah.
scorpions here.
Yeah, I've seen them before.
Yeah, we got scorpions here too.
Definitely.
Tell me where they don't. 'Cause I'm moving.
So how long were you there at that DMZ thing?
In
Like
Kuwait,
in
I was
Kuwait,
there
yeah.
for like 120 days, I think.
The weather was nice, I'm sure.
So it wasn't bad. It was just
Is it hot?
It was hot, but not as bad as one would think.
Right.
It's hot. Of course, desert's hot wherever you go. But
Did you have those enormous flies trying to crawl inside you? They're real aggressive. At least they were in Saudi, where they would try to go in your nose, trying to get moisture, your eyes, and there were these huge flies. And
no,
you didn't have.
we had camel spiders.
Yeah, those are the big, huge.
Yeah, we
huge.
used to fight them a lot. You almost can't kill them.
He didn't say we killed them. We fought them. Right there. That's all I need to know. He didn't,
Yeah, you stomp them, but they survive it. And so, but yeah,
what?
and then I came back from Ali Al Salim Air Base, and I stayed there at Fort Campbell until I reenlisted. And part of my reenlistment, I decided I wanted to go to Germany, and so I went to Europe from maybe it was 2000 from 2000 to 2003, I think. Yeah, so 2003.
9/11.
What base were you at in Germany?
I was at Giebelstadt Air Base. This
Which is not even a base anymore, right? Did they
no,
close
it's
it?
gone. Yeah, it's gone.
They closed them. They
and-
shrunk everything down.
Yeah, it was. We went to. I was at Giebelstadt Air Base, and that's where they have a big yacht manufacturer over there, Bavarian yachts over there, or boats, or whatever they call them. That's where they make them at. And so that's where I was there during 2001 when 9/11 happened. And so
You were in Germany during 9/11.
During that,
I was already in Germany during 9/11.
you were there when it happened. Okay.
Yeah.
What was the scene like? What happened? Like, were you at the base? Where were you at? Tell us that.
We were on base, and we got, for some reason, we turned on, watched the news, and that's when you seen the first plane hit, and then within minutes later, the second plane hit, and they're like, we need to go back over to base to get some things, and so I'm like, all right, I'll go over and do it. And so I went over there, and it took me 4.5 hours to get into base because they strip searched everything. They took everything out of your vehicles.
Like threat con,
Yeah,
Delta,
it went. Yeah, it was and it was like. So I'd call them back over and be like, look, and I can't, you can't just back out and change your mind because once you're in the line, now if you do it, then you can be, potentially you can be a threat. And so it's like,
You're there. Once you started, you were there.
Yeah, you're there. You're in it. And so it's like, so I called them up. I'm like, look, do not come to base. I said, I'm in line, and I can't get out of it. And so it took me like 4.5 hours to get onto base.
Wow.
And but it only took me 30 seconds to get off of it, but hours to get on it. Mm-hmm. So because they took everything out of your vehicles and patted you down and ran and had dogs, and it's like it was chaos. And so then we knew that we were going to be. They were getting a team together to go to Afghanistan. And so,
how long was this after 9/11?
This happened. I went to
like a couple of weeks, a month.
It went from September, and then September was 9/11, and then I think we went in February or March the next year. And so we were I was on the second wave of Afghanistan. And so I was the second, we were the second team that went there. And of course, they handpicked a team from all of the, because I was with the calibration team. And so this team, there was test measurements and diagnostic equipment. They calibrated, anything from torque wrenches to, oscopes and stuff like that. And so they handpicked the team from, all over. And then we went to Afghanistan. And so I was at, it took, we left out at Frankfurt, Germany, and we flew from there to Bagram. And we were there at Bagram, and we were there trying to catch a flight from Bagram we were at Kandahar. And so we went to Kandahar, and so Kandahar was, you get into a big C5, and, you finally get, you take off, and then, the corkscrew to go into the base, because, you're getting shot at, RPGs, getting, small arm fire, everybody's shooting at everybody. And so, you land, and then, of course, we were there I was there for almost, I can't remember how much.
Well, we can't gloss over the combat entry because that's aviation stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, that had to be, so were you terrified or did you know what's going on? Because I've heard it's a very wicked experience because you're used to airliners. Everything's real calm.
Yeah.
And you're literally corkscrewing. You're blacked out. There's no lights on the outside.
Yeah, and you're going, and then right before you touch down, it straightens out and you touch down, and that's it. And it's like, holy crap! This is real. But you can hear about it. You can talk to people, and they're like, oh, it's one thing, but it's a whole different thing. When you get there, and you're like, holy crap! Things are just gotten real. And so, I mean, every day, we would be we were attached. The 101st was leaving out of there, and I was attached to the 82nd Airborne. And so, with the 82nd, they, all American. Everybody's got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, which is, I get it. But you would come, you'd get ready to, you'd be out and doing stuff during the daytime, and we'd be by one of the gates, and they would bring in Humvees that were, had been hit by IEDs, and there would be, blood and body parts and this, that, and others, everywhere. And it's like, how, even up to that point, you can hear about stuff, but then when you see it, it's like it's a whole different, it's kind of, it's surreal because like, at any moment, anybody can kill you.
Right.
And of course, you get there and you find ways to get out, to get out and to get away from the trucks and stuff, and just kind of, I would drive around the little compound, and I caught one dude who was trying to get up into the guard tower, up into the tower that they do live fires at, and he had he had rounds, he had RPGs with him.
So it's a bad guy.
So it's a bad guy, and so
Wow.
and like, well, why didn't you shoot him? I'm like, well, I had a guy tell me that my rules of engagement weren't what I thought they were, which, and of course the higher ups in the 82nd were like, no, you were right, you should have killed him. And I didn't, but I turned him in, and they went and did. They went and found old boy, and he was waiting until dark to be able to shoot into tent, like a tent city type of thing, and so which was, it was good that I caught him, but at any moment, anything can jump off.
Non-stop threats.
It's
right?
not, yeah, it's not quite, because when you look at the aerial of looking at Kandahar, you have different countries that are around, and then each section in, and of course the Americans are in the very center, like a bullseye. So we were like in the very center of it. So it's odd, but
Isn't Kandahar like is that the most modern city that Afghanistan has? Like there's a couple big buildings down there, or is that?
I'm not sure. I didn't.
Because y'all were on base.
I was on base the whole time. I didn't leave base. I mean, you would hear where they would catch, make big cache of weapons or explosives and stuff, and then would blow them. They'd blow them in place. And like, a couple times there was 6,000 pounds of stuff that they found, and they'd blow it up, and it's like, this is all right.
Yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
this is something to remember too. This is early on when Afghanistan was like really hot. It was hot, right? Like,
Yeah, this is the
America
second
just got there, right?
The second tour, or the second rotation of Afghanistan. Things were still, it was still. Things were just still real raw. It's only
It's fresh. Like it was just.
Everything was still brand new, and it's like, it was wild. And so I got back, after I finished Afghanistan, I came back to Germany. I got injured. I took an it's methicillin is what it is. It's an anti-malaria pill, and it made me list to where I couldn't walk straight. I would walk, one way or the other. I couldn't walk straight.
Weird.
So
Wow.
I ended up. They're like, you're going to end up causing, getting yourself hurt, getting other people hurt, and so they're like, we want to medical you back. And so I think it was like 4 months. I was like, all right. And so I went back, and then I got back to my unit, and then they're like, oh, we're going to Iraq. I'm like, what? I said, that sucks for y'all. I appreciate it, but they're like, oh no, you're going. And I'm like, I just got back from Afghanistan. And they're like, yeah, it don't matter. So, so I was on the first wave of Iraq, which was really cool to a degree. Because I mean, you hear about shock and awe, but then you get to see it in person. It's like, TV don't do it justice because you get to see things really go. It's really
I
kind of
bet,
wild.
dude.
It's wild, and
Rain in hell.
so we, and a lot of people got to, a lot of people flew into Iraq when we went to, because we went to Balad Air Base in Iraq, and so I got to drive from Kuwait. I jumped the berm, and we drove from Kuwait to Baghdad, and we stopped, at one spot in the middle of the night, or like early morning when we were driving, and we got onto a base, and then the next day we went out and we were on a different chalk, and then we just let you know what number you are on the convoy, and so we were on the second chalk of that one, and so we went to stopped. We were going to Baghdad International Airport, where we were going, and so we get there, and it's like, I mean, it's chaos everywhere. It's like, where do you do? But we got to drive in, and we drove into Baghdad. It was crazy because everything started out with fruits and vegetables to rocks, grenades. They're just throwing it.
Like they're bazaar, like the little bazaars.
You're going right down,
Wow.
right down the center of of what they call, it's like a food bazaar type of thing. There's fruit, vegetables, and you got people throwing hand grenades and explosives and this, that, and the other. And like, hey, I just can't win for losing this. So,
Now, a lot of people don't realize that all those convoys that were always ongoing, those things were attacked. I mean, it was a high threat.
we got pulled. They pulled us over on our way to, because the Apaches had to fly ahead of us and clear because there were IEDs that they found IEDs and they were clearing out all this stuff. So we were pulled off and into this like a rest area that was pre-made because it had concertina wire everywhere, and so then you had young kids who were they'd never seen Americans, and so they would come over and they would try to sell you stuff, give you they would give you blocks of ice, and just wanted they just wanted to see Americans and talk, and so you'd see that, and then of course you see older guys that were like 75 years old out there selling hash, 5-pound blocks of it. You're like,
Wow.
just it's not really my thing, but I mean, I get you making money. Of course, it was just crazy, because it'd be from one extreme to where kids were, you would drive through small villages and you would find, or you would think they were small villages, it would just be like a big pile of dirt, and you're like, these little kids would be running around, and you're like, oh, they're coming out. They've made a house out of the backside of a dirt pile.
Wow.
And these little kids are just wanting food because they're, and you would just throw them, you would throw them, I would throw them food, MREs and stuff. I was like, take it, I'd rather them, just you kind of felt sorry for them. They're, war-torn country, dictators, living around in huge palaces with gold-plated everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, these little kids are starving to death.
Yeah.
It's like, you kind of feel bad for them. So, but yeah, that's how that all transpired. Wow. And of course, once we got to Balad Air Base, we would get out there and before we got our trucks and stuff set up, it was, I mean, the only place to really get shade would be to lay underneath the truck, but you have to wait until it sit there for 20, 30 minutes.
Cool off. So
the pavement would cool off, because once we were down there and got the tarmac, the temperature on the tarmac was 160 degrees. And like you get so acclimated to 160 degree weather, and then we finally got air conditioners for our tent, and if our tent got down to like 120, 130 degrees,
Felt good.
we were freezing to death. I was put on snivel gear. I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna freeze to death.
People do.
Wow, dude.
I've heard of that.
And so we got so acclimated to the weather that, as we got closer to leaving, and I left there in September. Matter of fact, I left there September 11th. And so, and that was in 2003. I believe, September 11th, 2003. I left there, and so by the time I got ready to leave there were people who were coming in and they were wearing shorts, and I was wearing, a baklava. I was wearing neck gaiter, you know, Gore-Tex clothing. I was wearing it, and it was like, I'm gonna freeze to death. I said, I'm freezing to death, and I'm like, how can you freeze to death? It's 100, 130, 140 degrees. I'm like,
That's
you
pretty
just
wild.
don't realize,
Yeah.
But you get so acclimated. But I flew out. I did get to fly out of Balad Air Base.
Which you fly out on?
I flew out on Chinook.
On a what?
Chinook.
Oh, Chinook.
CH-47.
All right.
That's a beast.
That's a beast.
And I got to, and we flew at it was almost like map of the earth. We were just right above tree level, and it was like, and of course, we would get mortared every night. When we were at Afghanistan, or at Iraq, we got mortared every night, and so they'd be rounds would come in, and that's where I got blown up. And so I tore the shoulder and messed up my neck, and then
You said you got blown up?
Take us.
Yeah.
Stop. Let's
What
talk about
happened over
that.
that?
oh,
Yeah.
can't roll over that.
No,
Okay, let's go.
That's
back
not
to
something.
it's not something we glaze over.
All right, let's glaze over it.
So what was this? Was a night thing? Y'all were getting mortared at
Yes,
night?
yeah, we got mortar, and the thing is that when people would mortar, they would put the mortar tubes. They would out in like, I call them pastures, but it's more like a field where gardening. But they would dig holes, and then they would put the mortar tubes down in below ground, and then they would put round cylinders, blocks of ice, around cone, and they would put it into the mortar, into the tube, and then put the round on top of it. So then, as the heat of the day would go, and it would melt it, then once it melted, it would the mortars would take they would send them in, and they would walk them in, try to walk them in there, a little closer every night.
Yeah.
And so we had clamshells that get blown up right next to us. We had a generator behind us that got blown up, and so
where were you during this strike? Like when you were getting hit by?
we were
mortars?
in the truck, and it was like 11:30 at night, and mortar was coming in, and like let's go to the concrete bunker. And so, we were going over the bunker, and percussions and stuff coming in, and it blew me forward and twisted my arm backwards. And so I tore up the shoulder, and then I ended up getting I had to get neck surgery eventually on that, and then that's where I got. They said I had depleted uranium poisoning because we played volleyball a lot. You got to get master at something.
Yeah.
And so we did volleyball, and our volleyball would go into a tank that had been hit by uranium round, and so you climb into it, you get the volleyball.
Oh my
You
gosh.
get poisoning after that. What I'm saying? You don't really realize that it's all part of it.
So now, since Brooklyn is starting to play volleyball, she just finished 7th grade volleyball. Did they have you over and teach her some things?
I can. I mean, I had I had to acquire. Is a good way to say it. I mean,
Yes.
instead of steal it, but you acquire. I acquired some lights to light up our volleyball at nighttime.
Nice.
And so I worked on a couple of those, and so I took possession of them, and possession is not intended to belong.
That's
So,
right. There you go.
That's why we did it. But that's that's how I got the depleted uranium poisoning.
Did you see was there a lot of death over there in Iraq?
There
You
was
see
a lot of
death?
there's a lot of stuff that went on that I mean, if anything after they give us like a date of like, let's say June 10th. Anything prior to June, anybody can carry a weapon, civilian wise. But anything after a certain date, like like June 10th or June 11th, whatever it was, then if they had one, then they were considered a combatant. And so, but you would have locals come in, on post all the time. But you get kind of complacent, because it's like you see these people every day, and they want to, you think they're being friends with you, but end up they nowhere near it. Well, they ain't trying to be a friend. They're just trying to find a way to kill you, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I can see I could easily because all it takes is that one that's
all it takes
strapped up with a vest.
All it takes is one idiot.
Yeah.
See, I think a lot of people don't realize that the military uses the locals like crazy.
Yeah, we use them for intel. We use them for to work on base to kind of give them and their families because their family they're like dirt. They're just living in dirt and they've got nothing. And so they use them for intel. They use them for for labor to do things on base. And we would I would say watch little kids that would be right outside the gate or right outside the fence. They've got to play in the Tigris River. And it's like you got to keep everybody. You got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to keep. You don't just get complacent. You got to look at everything and see what's going on. So
did you go? Were you medicaled out after you were?
No, I got to enjoy the rest of my time there, and couldn't use my right arm. I end up. I got to be in charge of 6 guard towers, and so I had 6 guard towers, 12 soldiers, and so you get so complacent. I mean, mortars happen every day, and you get so used to them that it's just it's like hearing the siren on Wednesday.
Tornado siren.
Here, you hear the siren. After a while, you just ignore it.
Right.
It's like ain't nothing. But we'd be at the piss tubes. It'd be like the big tent pole type things, and then bury them in. So that's what we call them piss tubes. That's what you do. You pee in them. And the mortars would come in during the daytime. They'd come in, and people would be screaming at you. Go get cover, get cover. We got mortars coming in. I'm like,
You gonna hit me?
I go to the bathroom, and
I gotta pee.
This is a lot more important than
Gotta
running
go.
for cover.
Yeah.
So I got to pee. I'm going to pee myself. But I mean, you get so complacent that it's like there's no sense of urgency.
Right.
New guys would come in and they would, if somebody farted wrong, they run it.
Oh yeah.
And it's like we've been here. I'm cool. I'm good with it. I'm like if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's when it's my time. It don't matter what happens. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
So is that how, like, if you were on a convoy or you were under threat? Because that's always a question everybody wants to know. Because everybody deals with it differently, and so did you just determine I'm not going to worry about it? There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah,
As long
as I keep my weapon, keep my weapon is ready at all times to be using it, and I had enough rounds to make things happen. I you wear a flak vest, you wear your Kevlar and stuff, and there's just so much you can do. And it's like as long as you continue to just make sure you keep eye of your surroundings, and you're eventually gonna things are gonna work out one way or another.
Right.
And so it's wild, but it's just like I said. People get so complacent that it's it becomes it's like hearing a dog bark. Or at our house you hear a train. And now I'm so used to it that I don't even know if the train can come through.
Or it's like if one of us went over there,
You'd be like, whoa,
"Dang,
that
that train is loud."
I didn't know that train was that close to your house.
Yeah.
And it's like now it's like I really don't hear the train until my dogs bark at it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there is a train. I'm just so used to it.
So from Iraq, after that deployment, then
I came
what
back.
happened?
I came back to. I went back to Germany, and then I was going to ETS out of. I was getting ready to because I wasn't going to re-enlist, and so I got back to Germany. I went ahead and ETS. I was in the process of ETSing. I had 60 plus days of leave built up, almost 90, closer to 90, I think. But I had so much leave built up that I was like, I'll just leave. We'll leave early, and I got back, and then my shoulder was so messed up that my sergeant major at Redstone Arsenal, Alabama, was like, "You're not going to, we're not letting you leave the military because you've got so much damage. We've got to get it. We've got to get you worked on." And so I spent 18 months going through stuff at Redstone Arsenal.
Now is that in Texarkana?
Alabama.
Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville.
Yeah,
Okay.
they got NASA. They got NASA there.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff to see. But when I got back September 11th, when I got back from September 11th to Germany, I was going to we were going to Wurzburg PX, and they were having a memorial of September 11th, and so they were firing off cannons, and of course, without realizing it, I had freaked out, and I was in a fetal position in the parking lot, and all these other people didn't have a clue, didn't know what was going on, and I was like, I didn't have a clue that I was already in a fetal position. I was pulling my family down. I was getting them down to cover, and they're like, "What's going on?" Nobody didn't have a clue, and of course, I had no idea that's even what had happened until it was after the fact. Like, we need to get you to the doctor. So that's how I got diagnosed with PTSD, and so, I've been out of that since 2024, so it's 21 years.
So what year did you completely get out?
I got out September 30th of 2005. 2005.
Was that Iraq deployment? Was that your last deployment? Or did you go?
Yeah, Iraq was my last deployment. The Army, I got to spend my last 18 months. I got to spend that. They would, my unit would send me for like 2 weeks at a time. They would send me to different. I went to first time I had been to Fort Drum, New York. They sent me there. They sent me to Fort Carson, Colorado. They sent me to almost 2 weeks. I was at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii.
Is this part of helping getting you through PTSD, or
No,
is this job related?
They're like, we've got to find you something to do because you're just, I spent a lot of time. I was on a path of destruction when I was at Redstone Arsenal.
Okay.
I went out and bought crush rockets, and we brought the back gate, and I had a Gixxer that was a 600, and I'd go out the back gate doing 155 miles an hour, and never could care less.
Right.
I was like, I don't really care. Just I was on path of destruction. So, yeah, that they told me, look, we've got to find you something to do because you're driving us nuts. And so they sent me 2 weeks, to different military bases. Fort Hood. I went back to Fort Hood, Fort Carson, Fort Drum, and then I went to Schofield Barracks in Hawaii. And I got to spend, I think it ended up being almost 10 days, I think.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow.
Taxpayers, thank you.
Taxpayers taking care of you. Love it.
Hey, taxpayers, I got to go on vacation. It's awesome.
Yeah,
nice.
But I almost drowned. in Hawaii. And so, yeah, I almost drowned in Hawaii.
How did you almost drown in Hawaii?
We were snorkeling, and I had we were out there with our unit, or part of the unit that was there at Schofield Barracks, and they're like, "Oh, let's go out to the North Shore and go scuba, or go snorkeling." And so I went out there and went snorkeling, and you get out there and people just lose track of you. And I got tinkering around with the huge sea turtle, and they're like, "Oh, don't touch them. You can get fined." I don't really care. I'm gonna touch it. So they swim up to me, so I grabbed a hold of it, and so it pulls you around, and you're not you don't really pay attention about where everybody's at. You just kind of lose track. Jack, I was out there. And so, I was like, trying to get back to the shore, and the waves would crash and push you to the bottom. And I was like 20 feet down, 20, 30 feet, I was like at the bottom. And
Wow.
so you try to push up, and by the time you get to the top, then another wave hits you and crashes, and you're pushed back down. And so it was almost a point where I'd given up. I was like, and there was no, I wasn't panicked. I was really, really calm. And it seemed like I was down there for like 30 minutes, which I wasn't, but there was no panic. And I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it. And I was like, well, I was pushing back to the bottom. I was like, no, let me try a different, let me swim at an angle at 40, like at 45 to see if I can get, I got to the top. I was like, okay, here we are. So, and of course then I told the guy, I was like, where in the world are y'all at?
Wow.
Well, we didn't know that you were going. I'm like, well, that's good. That's situational awareness. I appreciate that. I was like, hey, friends like that? Friends like that. But yeah, like I said, I got, Hawaii was fantastic. And so that was one of the reasons why we went back, just here as a couple of years ago, or last year, I think.
So you guys got any more questions?
Yeah,
Military questions?
what about what happened when you were playing video games on post one time?
Well, I lived in Swanee, Georgia, and so I ETS, and I was trying to have somewhat of a normal life, and so I got into playing Call of Duty and playing with these dudes, and we were, we ran a 6-man team. We were running deep and making fun of people and talking bad to them.
Which is normal in video game
Yes.
world,
It's normal, and of course,
especially in the military.
I played Call of Duty with Mike before, so I know.
and all the guys I played with, we were all prior service, and so we just talk hateful to everybody. And then, I had a friend that I was stationed with at Fort Campbell, and he'd moved down to Georgia, and he came to my house one night and shot me through the side window, and I got hit. I got hit 5 times. Got 2 rounds out of my head, blew my nose off, my right ear, my right tibia, and across my back. And so, yeah, that was.
So talk about, you talked about earlier how surprised you were, like you're sitting there playing the game, and how your mind is processing what's happening.
Yeah, you think, as bad as we're talking to these people, it was nowhere. It's embarrassing how bad I was talking about these people. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing off limits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Friends, family,
Don't matter.
don't matter.
Yeah.
Everything's up for discussion. And I thought a boy had gotten so mad that he had put an air horn into the mic, and that's what it kind of felt like. And so
You had your full head. You had the headset.
I had headgear on, and you can't. Everything was going through the headgear, so even the TV, there was no volume on the TV. It was
If
just
somebody would walk in the room, it'd have been silent.
I couldn't hear it. And so I pulled. I felt something, and so my ear started hurting. So I pulled my headphones off, and there was holes in it, and I was like, they were bullet holes. And of course, at first I didn't know what they were at the time. I just thought, man, that was somebody really used an air horn, and that's hurting.
Yeah.
And so, of course, then the blood that was running, and of course, when it mixed with saliva, it turns pink, and so it looked like I had Pepto-Bismol on the side of my face, but it was blood. And so then I went from standing to where I was laying on the ground. I was like, how did I get here? Because my mom was trying to process everything, and I didn't realize that my nose was blown off, and I didn't realize that my ear was gone. It was like, holy crap, what's going on?
Was the guy still there? What did he shoot and run, or was he still there?
And then he left, and then some next door neighbors described what vehicle he was in, and then they got the phone number, and they pinged it, and they could tell where he was at the time, and so they followed his ping and that's how they found him. He was almost in. He was in North Carolina, going to Virginia or something. I mean, he was just right there. He was right there at the border when they found him.
Was he like raging or something? Like,
Don't know. I have
Was
no
like
idea.
struggling with,
He
like-
never got deployed. He was just in the Army for, I think, maybe 4 years. I think he just, I don't really know, and they
Man.
don't really know. It was like, he just
Just lost his mind.
lost his mind.
terrible soul.
Yeah.
He just, but yeah, that's how that all happened. And so, I mean, he died in prison. His family, or his kids blame me for him being in jail and being in prison. And I'm like, no, it's your daddy's fault. He pulled the trigger, I didn't.
Yeah.
And so, his sister called me a couple years ago. She called me and said, he died of a heart attack in prison, but he wanted me to let you know that he loved you, like a brother. And I'm like, I said, come on. Not like a brother. I said, a brother don't shoot another one. I said, we don't shoot each other. But,
It's tough.
it is what it is. I said, well, I appreciate it, but, we have no, I've got no desire to talk to you or your family anymore. It's just,
Yeah.
it's done. That chapter's gone. So,
Were you still in the military at that point?
no, I was working for an engineering firm. I was working for Conversion Technology. It was they did engineering consulting, and they did asbestos removal and stuff. And so I was working for them at the time. And so, yeah, I was isolated for for like 74 days. I was isolated in the house, and they're like, "Oh, you can't drive, you can't do this, you can't do that." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And so I went, and I used to go every morning. I would drive to Hardee's, and I would spend a couple hours at Hardee's just to get away from the house, because being inside the house, I thought the walls were closing in, and I was like, I can't live like this. So
How did you get out of there?
I had to get out of it. And so then I finally, I moved back here. Moved back here in 2012, the end of 2012. I moved back. I lived in Russellville. My parents, they lived still north of town. So does my brother. And
When did you meet your wife?
I met her. We were doing I considered it a class 1 felony, even though it really wasn't. we were doing, we were moving a person from here in Atkins. We were moving and I had been going to this church I'd been going there for a while, I think.
When'd you get to Bell's Chapel?
It wasn't long after I moved back here that
Because we got there in Brooklyn. Kay was pregnant with Brooklyn. She'll be 13 next month. So it was like early 2011, that spring.
Yeah. And then I think
you
I got
came
there
a few years after that.
I came there at the end of. Matter of fact, it was within the first quarter of 2013
Okay.
that I came there, and of course, because my parents went to church there, my sister went to church there, and they're like, "Hey, come to church with us." And so I was like, "Oh, I'll think about it." And so I was like, "Yeah, no, I'll go." And then I started going, and that's I ran into my wife, and at the time I was like, I didn't. When God's time for you to meet somebody, you'll meet them. It's not on your terms. You can try and do it, but it's not going to work unless it's their time. And so we happen to be doing. Like I said, we're moving someone out here in Atkins, moving them to a different location, and that's where first time I ever actually really probably talked to her. Was when we were doing. I call it a class 1 felony, even though it probably wasn't, but. To me, it kind of felt like we were chatting.
That's pretty sketchy, son.
It does sound sketchy.
That sounds sketchy.
This sounds like some sort of sketchy operation.
Yeah, we had some sketchy going on. That's when matter of fact, that's when I first started talking to you, talking to Alan.
Yep.
And yeah, that's when all three of us started chit-chatting. And of course, then I started talking to my wife, and I was like, she's coming out and telling us that, we need to hurry up, do things.
I remember that.
She's like, y'all need to, you're dragging your feet.
Dragging your feet.
And so I finally, and until I would talk to her a little bit here and there, and then I finally like, let's go out, let's go out on a date. And, well, it's not really a date. Let's just go eat dinner. And so
It's a date.
it's a date.
It's
I said it was a date, but she's like, nah. I'm like, hey, I'll take you out. I'll take you out to eat. Oh no, she's gonna pay her own way. I said, okay, you pay yours, I'll pay mine.
But you're a strong girl.
It's still a date, though.
I consider it a date.
All right.
She don't, but I did. But,
We need to bring her out here. We need to fact check this.
Yeah, you probably can, but you know what I'm saying? She's probably going to put me in such a good light.
Yeah.
But, but since then,
How long y'all been married?
been there 9 years, and that's hard to believe.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I mean, it really is,
So now you're a cowman.
I raise cattle for, I raise beef for other people and myself, and
I've had some Cam Akers beef.
But see, I'm going to need to
It's
get some of this now.
fantastic.
it's still fantastic.
It really is.
Yeah, I'm
I
going
didn't even know. So
to get in on this.
can we just go buy beef from your place?
How
How does that work?
I normally there's times where I'll just buy or I'll raise one up and then I'll sell it out. Say if somebody wants a half or somebody wants a whole. Because I used to sell. I had a couple guys that would go out and buy, just didn't want me to raise them a whole one for themselves, so I would do it. And so a couple times I raised the halves, and this last time I raised a half for someone, and I raised a half for us. And normally out of a 1,000-pound steer, you get about 430 pounds of beef.
Wow, dude.
I had no idea.
This last one, I got 902 pounds of beef out of it.
Holy crap.
It's in the freezer. And so I kept half of it, so I got 451 pounds of beef.
That's a lot of beef.
And so
We got the meat, dude.
yeah. And so I would go
I'm
and
not going to
buy.
the store ever again.
I had to buy. You go out and buy freezer on pump. I got to buy a couple extra freezers because I've got a beef everywhere.
Beef everywhere.
But yeah, I mean,
everywhere.
yeah, I got 451 pounds of beef out of there. My half, and the other half was another 451 or 52 pounds. It was a lot. I mean, it was a lot of beef.
So if I'm understanding you, me or Mike could call you up and say, "Hey, I want a half a cow."
Yeah, I can raise you one. It takes a little while, but I can get you raised up. And like I said, I raised the last one that the last one. He was a hoss when he went. He's 1,500 and
Holy.
1,550
So how many
pounds.
steaks you get out of that?
Out of the whole one,
Yeah.
Out of the whole one I've gotten before, I got 17 tomahawks. I got 17.
That is so awesome, dude.
I think 17 tomahawks. I mean, you got 17 tomahawks.
45 ribeyes.
I got ribeyes. I got ribeyes, fillets, New York strips, and of course my tomahawks that out of this last one. When you go to Sam's, you got those ones like 2.5 inch thick. That's what I got.
Wow.
And I'm like, I mean, it takes a lot of. It's a lot of work to get that boy cooked.
What prompted you to get into cattle?
My wife told me I needed to find a hobby.
Okay, fair enough.
Because when we lived at Pottsville, I spent 6 months out of the year, all I did was hunt. That's all I did because I was like, what else I got to do? I'm going to hunt. And so for 6 months out of the year, I hunt. And I would hunt deer, and that's all. It was just deer. That's all I ever hunted. And so, but I would spend, when deer season come in September, from September till February, that's all I did was hunt.
Wow.
And so that's all I did. It's like, but she's like, you've got to find something to do with your time because you're killing it. You're gonna, it's gonna drive you nuts just not doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you only hunt 6 months out of the year, what are you gonna do the other 6? Because I don't fish, and so I was like, well, I like to get into cows because my grandfather raised cows, my dad raised cows. I was like, I need cows. And so she came in one day and she's like, hey, let's go for a drive. And so, it kind of sounds bad when you say that. Hey, let's go for get dropped off somewhere. You can't get dropped off somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You're not sure if you'll make it home. But we went and looked at this farm, and she's like, "What do you think about this farm?" I'm like, I like it. And so she's like, "Well, let's just buy it and raise cows." And so that's what I did. We bought it. And
That's awesome.
bought it and raised cows, and she's like, she was. I bought 5 when we first bought that place. I bought 5 cows. They were all pregnant, and she's like, 5's a good number. Let's just work out 5. And I'm like, okay, that's good. She went to work that was on Friday. She went to work Friday, I think. Saturday morning, or maybe it was Saturday morning. She went to work, and I called my boy and said, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to bring me 5 more cows." And so he brought me 5 more cows, and then she came home. She's like, "I thought we discussed 5." I said, "I thought you were talking about 5 at a time." So that's what I bought. Bought 5 at a time.
That's how that works.
And so I got into raising cows, and I really love it. I love it a lot more than I do now. My dad passed away in April, and I used to talk to him every day. We talked about cows, this, that, and other, and now it kind of some of the fun's run out of it. I call and talk to my brother, and I call and talk to my mom, but there's something about calling and talking to your dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
And I got a friend another friend at church that I got him into raising cows, and he's like, "You want me to go take one of his cows or his bull to go get worked on at the vet?" And so I went and picked him up one day. It was on the 4th of October of last year, and we took him because his bull was limping. So I was like, "Hey, we'll take him to the vet and get him worked on." He worked on him, and he was mad. He weighs 1,920 pounds, so he was mad. And so we were walking into the truck and trailer, and he got up in the trailer. And so I do what I do with all mine, and I got up in the back of the truck or in the back of the trailer, and I touched him with that cut gate. And so he started to shift, and so I touched him again. He didn't like the rest of that, so then he kicked me, or kicked the gate, and it hit me in the head and knocked me out, and knocked me about 10, 12 feet backwards. And so I was sitting on that. I came to, and I was halfway in the trailer. I was out on the ground, and I could tell that his bull was coming, but I couldn't wrap my mind about what was going on. And so the bull went past, and I got up, and I told Blake, I said, "Hey, take a picture, send it to Aubrey." He's like, "Maybe on the collar." I said, "She'll be just fine. Just take the picture and send it to her." He's like, "Well, I'm gonna call her." And he called her and said, "Hey, Carmen got hurt." And she's like, broke a finger, broke an arm.
That's what I think.
Send a picture, and it's like, holy crap, his face is bleeding. And she's like, "I'm on the way." Well, it crushed my face. It broke. I had a tri fracture where went behind my nasal cavity. It broke my jaw, and so I had 3 fractures or 3 breaks, and then I ended up getting 5 or 4 plates. I got 4 plates put in my face, and so
Wow.
moral of the story is don't do it. But I still went to school at Atkins. I'm not that smart. So I've been known to still walk behind them. But I was telling people at church, because I was telling them about look, you can always say, "I've got plenty of time to say to get right with God." You got plenty of time. You don't, because in a split second I went from being awake or walking behind this bull to where I was out, didn't know what, I had no clue, so I had no time of saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've got plenty of time to say, to ask for forgiveness," because I didn't. I had nowhere near it.
Right.
Nobody, you just don't have time, so you got to be right with God, and so that's what I try to do now. Is I try to continue. Of course, you work, you. Being a Christian, it's work. You can't it's nothing that you take lightly. It's not easy to do. You still battle with flesh. You still battle with, with everything. You try to you try to do right, but as long as continue to know that I'm always going to be a work in progress. I'm always going to be looking to God and looking to Jesus for my guidance on how I'm supposed to I treat people the way I want to be treated. I live by that rule. You're only as good as your word. And I learned that from my grandfather and my father. And I don't know. I'd be in real bad shape if I wasn't a Christian, if I wasn't right with God. I mean, at any moment, nobody knows when your day's numbered. You just you don't know what the date is, you don't know what the time is, and you're not guaranteed the next breath.
Right.
And so I've come to realize that it's better to do your best and walk with God than to try and do things on your own, because you're going to fail on your own. And so you got to have a strong partner. God bless Audrey. She's got a lot to work with. I mean, I call myself a trophy husband. I mean, I'm a trophy. I might not be the best trophy, but I'm a trophy. Yeah. So,
I heard a guy say one time, talking about people getting saved and stuff, and he said this guy got saved, and he did the prayer and all that. And he said, "You just did the easy part."
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you just alluded to. Like once you getting saved is the easy part. It's after that the war starts.
Anybody can get saved.
Yeah.
Anybody can say, anybody can do it, but it's a constant walk, and you've got to, because
it's a daily decision to pick up your cross and say, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah,
daily.
It's constant of because before I was walking with God, I didn't feel like I got attacked on anything. Everything was just. But once I become saved, Jack, I'm in a battle all the time, and I can't get away.
What does Luke say? You're either coming out of one or you're going into a battle.
Yeah, and I just there's times where I want just 30 seconds just to breathe.
Yeah.
Before the next one comes, but it ain't ever like that way. It's not that way, and it's always a work. And I don't know where I would be at today if I wasn't where I'm at Christian wise.
From the time I've met you until now, dude, you came really. This is serious. Be serious. You came a long way, dude.
Yeah, I hate people. But
God has worked mightily in your life.
But and the thing is that you can't love someone until you love yourself.
Yeah.
And I hated myself.
Yeah.
I hated myself with a passion, and I was good at hating myself.
Yeah.
But you've got to love yourself before you can love anyone else, and you got to be okay with yourself.
Yeah.
Before you start trying to mesh a life with someone else's life, because you've got to be right with God to be able to get the most out of life. And I'm grateful every day.
What was the moment in your life where you were like, I can't do this without God. Like I need Him. Like I need that in my life.
The thing is that when I first started coming to church, and I was raised in church, but I just being a kid going to church is ain't no big deal. You're going there to hang out with your friends, basically.
Yeah.
But once I got coming back here and going to church, because I first initially, like I said, I was going to church because my mom and dad and my sister. And I seen that my parents were married for almost 57 years. I couldn't imagine what my mother and father. Well, my father was very, very spiritual. He was, strong Christian. My mother's a strong Christian, and I know that that's something that I want. I achieve to be like that.
Yeah.
I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to say, I want people to look on me like he's a strong Christian, and I just want to be a better person, and I know that it wasn't until after I got back here and started going to church with my family that I realized, you know what, I've tried to do all this stuff on my own, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do any of this stuff on my own. And if it wasn't for them showing me, here's the way that you need to start living, live your life for God. Be, try to be Christ-like, even though it's a battle. But I never would have been able to do this on my own. Never. I never been able to do this on my own.
Yeah.
So I knew that was something I wanted to do, and I was like, once I got, because matter of fact, me and Audrey got baptized not long after me and her started. I think it was after we got. I don't know, it just seemed like it runs into we got married, and then we got baptized. I mean, it seemed like it was just like
Boom, boom, boom.
boom. Everything was just going right in, and everything was just smooth. It was smooth, and I was like, "This is the best thing in the world."
Fell in place for you. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and when it's right, you know it's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's awesome.
that's where we stand at. So
Love that, dude.
9 years and waiting for 25 more. That'd be fine with me. I'm cool with that.
Cool with it.
Be careful
Blessed,
around,
brother. Yeah.
around them cows, man. Be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and
Heck
Cal, we're not really on a first name basis any longer. You know?
On a first name.
Yeah, I try to be. I don't name them. I named one.
You used to.
Yeah, I used to, and I named one. I had one until he died of pneumonia. But Stormy was his best bull a man could have. But of course, 2,200 pounds, and you could lay him in the field, and he wouldn't care.
Right.
He knew that he was fine. But it's these other ones. You got to watch out for. I got one now. She's crazy, but I gave her the number 13. That's because she is crazy. That's part of it. Go hand in hand, old son.
I love it.
Oh,
You guys got anything else?
man, that's what a story, man.
That's a great story.
Man, I hope I didn't bore you.
No, that's
No, not at all, man. We've been talking about doing this for a while. We finally made it happen. I think you prayed about it, and you finally got
Yeah,
released to do it, and
I got the gift of gab.
you got
Keep
to
sharing that.
That's what we
I
need.
mean it. Yeah, thank
We
you.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad that I'm glad I'm surrounded by people that have try to do the same walk in faith and making new friends, and because I don't have many friends, not anymore. They're far and few between, but I've got a small group, and I got an umbrella that they're all underneath, and so I'm always adding. I like to add to my umbrella, not to
You got
lose.
two more.
I was about to say, you
Two
just
more.
did, yeah.
That's exactly right. I'm
I hope I was under the.
If you get some
already
beats,
under the-
just-
Sketchy, you're always there. You're always there, Sketchy.
That's,
You're always there.
that's my nickname. Carmon nickname is Sketchy.
I
I
like
love it.
It's been
I like
sketchy
that.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for some of the people that I go to church with, that I consider a lot of them friends, and of course I graduated with Pastor Chad. I graduated with him,
Good dude.
and so I've known him since. Man, it seemed like it's been forever. It's back when we were in high school and elementary, or it may have been elementary school.
Wow.
It's been a while.
it. Us dudes, we need other dudes.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can lean on.
Yeah,
Talk
that's
to.
true.
Big way.
It really is true. And that's really the goal of this whole goal of this podcast, man, is just to reach dudes and have dudes on to share stories and
Yeah.
talk about life and Jesus and
I'm-
politics and whatever, man.
Yeah.
Tomahawk.
Tomahawk steak.
Tomahawk steak.
Three-
That's what we should have done tonight. Sit here and
So, in honor of this, I'm going to need you to cook us
that's just fixed to say, dude.
He's sketchy.
He's always
a tomahawk
Sketchy.
steak.
See, it boils down to is I want you to hear chit chat, but I really want you to.
I really want you to cook me a
Well,
steak.
you brought up tomahawk steak.
Oh, yeah,
I'm going
that's
to go to my
right.
brother's defense.
You know what? I need to cook us some. I need to cook us some steaks.
That'd be good.
Boy, I got some Negro steak too.
Little strip.
Boy, let's get on this.
I love
Yeah.
He's thick.
it.
Yeah. He's thick, old son.
Man, we thank you for your service. We thank you for coming
Thank you,
on.
brother.
Man, I appreciate y'all having
really
me.
appreciate it.
y'all having me.
Service.
And we have a little tradition. We always pray us out of here. So
All
we'll
right.
pray us and we'll end us out of here.
Let's go.
Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for this day. Lord, thank you for Carmon and thank you for his life and his testimony. I thank you for what you've done in his life. I pray that you use this testimony, Father, to reach somebody that's going to listen to this podcast that will change their life. And we love and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for listening to the Life After Sunday podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please give us a like and a comment, and go follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And as always, keep fighting the good fight.